Good evening, I'm Ces Orenia Drilon.
And I'm Sean Yao.
The big stories tonight. President Marcos orders a lifestyle check on all government officials and agencies with connections to flood control projects. The palace promises to spare no one, even allies.
And one day after he was unceremoniously booted out as PNP chief, General Nicolas Torre III is taking time off and will be going on leave. He also says he has no ill feelings nor regrets after his police force stint was cut short, calling himself a good soldier.
And back to Malacanang, it denies cracks in the Marcos administration after the sudden change in PNP leadership. Acting Davao City Mayor Baste Duterte begs to disagree.
Lifestyle check sa lahat ng mga opisyal, walang sisinuhin, walang malapit sa puso, walang kaalyado, kung sino man ang involved dito, sasampahan ng kaso.
President Bongbong Marcos has called for a lifestyle check on all government officials amid the controversy on alleged corruption in flood control projects. And not just for those involved in anomalous projects. Palace Press Officer Claire Castro said the president's directive is part of the ongoing investigation into questionable projects. The lifestyle check will start with DPWH officials in a thorough record review of the government agency.
Ipinag-utos ni Pangulong Ferdinand R. Marcos Jr. ang pagkakaroon ng lifestyle check sa lahat ng mga opisyal sa gitna ng investigasyon patungkol sa maanumalyang flood control projects.
DPWH Secretary Manuel Bonoan had earlier denied any involvement in the controversial projects. But in a statement, Senator Ping Lacson says the DPWH has become a playground for criminal syndicates with mafia-like activities going on in engineering offices across the country. He also received information of irregularities up to the Philippine Contractors Accreditation Board. But Yusek Castro addressed Lacson's remarks.
Kung yan po ang pananaw ni Senator Lacson, tandaan po natin hindi naman po lahat ng tao sa DPWH ay maaaring involved. At katulad ng ginagawa po ng Pangulong Marcos Jr., pinapaimbestigahan niya po lahat para po malinis at maiayos kung ano po ang naging pagkakamali sa mga maanumalyang flood control projects. Walang sisinuhin, walang malapit sa puso, walang kaalyado, kung sino man ang involved dito, sasampahan ng kaso.
Several cabinet secretaries welcomed the president's order.
We are open and we welcome the yung lifestyle check.
It's the right thing to do. Tama yun. For the entire government. I think it's very important.
Alam mo ngayon, sa social media, wala ka nang pwede itago eh. So lahat lang naman yan, pwede na makita sa social media.
One who is not impressed, however, is Davao City Acting Mayor Baste Duterte. In an interview in The Hague, Duterte called out the president's investigation as a mere public relations stunt. Castro also clapped back at the acting mayor in her briefing.
Kasi ginagawa niyang press release yan ngayon eh, PR stunt niya. Kung serious talaga siya, sabi niya na, 'di ba? Alam niya, may tinuro na siya, may mga pangalan ng mga kumpanya ng contractors na in-expose niya, then why not file a case? Kung talagang gusto mo ipakita sa tao, okay, you want to redeem yourself, sige, pakulong ka dyan.
Nasaan po siya ngayon?
Nasa the Netherlands.
Wala po sa Davao City. Okay. Kung sinasabi niya po na ito'y PR stunt, manood na lamang po siya.
Well, flood control was also a topic over at the Senate. Let's bring in mobile journalist Merrimon Reyes. Hi, Merrimon.
Good evening, Ces and Sean. So far, pagdating dito sa Senado, yung ilan sa mga nadagdag doon sa interpellation ng mga senador kasama si Senator Ping Lacson patungkol doon sa kanyang privilege speech on doon sa mga manumalyang flood control projects sa bansa. Nakita na collusion din ang isa sa pinaka nakikitang kalaban dito. Dahil nga bukod dito nakita nila na yung ilang mga contractors daw na for example sila ay barred o sila ay blacklisted within 1 year o kaya naman wala pa yung katapusan ng blacklisting na to, nagbabago raw sila ng pangalan pero with the same address at nakakakuha pa rin sila ng lisensya or yung accreditation. Dito ngayon nakikita o binahagi ni Senator Ping Lacson na even itong Philippine Contractors Accreditation Board, meron daw silang nakuhang information na merong accreditation for sale na ino-offer sa private contractors. Base raw sa kanya mga nakausap na mga kontratista, around 2 million ang kailangan lang daw bayaran para makapag-secure nitong accreditation. At yung isa pa nga sa tinitingnan nila dito sa naging interpellation, kasama naman si Minority Leader Senator Tito Soto, yung blacklisting period daw baka pwedeng i-extend from 1 year to 3 to 5 years para masiguro na itong mga kumpanya o kaya mga agency, mga contractor companies, hindi makakapuslit. Dahil kailangan din daw dito yung mas mahigpit na cooperation and coordination interagency mula sa PCAB, DTI, even ang DPWH para raw ma-check, ma-background check daw yung mga may-ari nito kung sila raw itong mga flag down, either merong mga problema, for example, sa Court of Tax Appeals or iba bang mga rason kaya sila blacklisted, hindi raw muna sila bigyan ng accreditation or ng lisensya. Yung isa rin na tinitingnan din nila dito ay yung nasabi ni Senator Ping Lacson na dahil nga naging effective kahit papaano itong sumbong sa Pangulo website, baka raw pwede rin i-expand naman ito para maaari rin makapagsumbong ang mga Pilipino hindi lang tungkol sa flood control projects kundi maging sa infrastructure projects na nakikita nilang palyado rin, ladies.
Mary Mon, ano naman ang sabi ng ibang senador? Kasi matagal na parang nagtandem si Senator Lacson at si Senator Soto. Ano naman ang follow-up ng mga or interpellation ng ibang senador?
Pagdating naman dito sa ilang mga senador, halimbawa kanila Senator Risa Hontiveros, sinatanong din nila dito paano nga ba nakakapuslit itong ilang mga kontratista na supposedly flagged down sila or blacklisted. Pero ang pinakanasabi dito, yung pick-up daw ang kailangan sumagot din dito, even yung DPWH dahil nga nakakalagpas ang mga ito. Nadagdag din ni Senator Ping Lacson naman na pagtungkol naman daw dito, maaari rin daw nagkakaroon ng corruption o collusion pagdating sa NEP. Dahil sinasabi, for example, sa National Expenditures Program, ito lang muna daw yung laman na budget. Pero pag lumabas naman daw yung GAA, meron na raw congressional insertions. Pero para naman dito, nakapanayam din natin si Senator J.B. Ejercito, specifically tungkol naman kay DPWH Secretary Manny Bonoan. Ang nakita niya raw habang ongoing daw investigation tungkol dito sa flood control projects, parang mas maganda raw munang mag-take ng leave of absence itong si Secretary Bonoan para hindi raw muna maapektuhan o maimpluwensyahan yung department. Pakinggan natin ang bahagi ng kanyang panayam.
Actually, noon ba yun talagang meron naman dapat na sinusunod na lifestyle, di ba? May etiquette dapat sa gobyerno na hindi dapat maging magarbo, sa aking pagkakalam. And it's about time kasi medyo may mga sumusobra din It's command responsibility, hindi excuse yun, ignorance of the wrongdoings of your subordinates is not an excuse. Dapat alam din niya, Kaya nga sabi ko, it will be prudent for Secretary Bonoan to take a leave of absence.
Mary Mon,
Yes.
kinontradict rin ni Senator Lacson yung sinasabi ni Secretary Bonoan na isolated incidents lang daw itong mga ghost projects. Tama, di ba? Sinabi niya ito sa kanilang pagpapalitan ng komento ni Senator Soto.
Ses, tama yan. After kasi no privilege speech naman ni Senator Lacson last week, nagkaroon naman ng pagtatanggi si DPWH Secretary Bonoan na hindi raw totoo yung ilang mga proyekto na to. Kasama na dito yung sa Sitio, yung sa Barangay Dike. And, pero nanindigan si Senator Lacson na verified daw ang lahat ng mga ito. Pinuntahan din daw mismo sa site. Kaya naninindigan daw siya, lalo-lalo na sa mga kritiko na lahat ng kanyang ibinulgar na mga maanumalyang flood control projects ay totoo na wala talaga, either hindi existing, nakalagay na completed pero wala pala talaga, or even na kung questionable yung mga contractors na included or involved dito. Pakinggan natin yung bahagi ng session kanina.
Maliraw yung aming team, which I cannot accept, Mr. President, because, I have this habit of validating, counter-checking, validating again before I open my mouth, especially in a privileged speech, because I know I will be fact-checked. And it really happened because andyan na yung media, nagpunta na doon sa mga binanggit kong ghost projects, and they were really fact-checking kung talagang ghost projects. And here comes the DPWH Secretary, no less, even accusing us or insinuating at least na mali kami. and mali rin daw yung media. So how could the Bulacan 1st District Engineering Office be an isolated case kung laganap na yung kaso? And man you, Mr. President, yung ginawa namin, in-undertake lang namin mga case studies.
Dagdag ko na lang din siguro, lilinawin ko lang, kamakailan yung pinakatinatanggi ni Secretary Bonoan na flood control projects na hindi raw totoo as ghost flood control projects. Ito yung sa Nauhan, Sitio Dike, Barangay Apetonga sa Oriental, Mindoro.
Okay, so mukhang mahaba pa to, no? With regard to that, ano bang susunod na meron ng Senado? Kailan ulit ito matitake up? Meron pa bang mga kasalukuyang privilege speech si Senator Lacson?
Oo, Sean, yung pagdating dito sa investigation and flood control projects na supposedly ang Senate Blue Ribbon Committee nakaschedule sa September 1 yung pangalawa nilang pagdinig. So nais ng mga senador kanina doon sa session na ilang mga issue dito, halimbawa yung sa pag-i-issue nga ng accreditation, yung posibleng pagpapalawig ng blacklisting, and yung pagtitingin kung paano mas mapapatibay yung interagency cooperation patungkol sa mga proyektong ito, lalong-lalo na yung pag-award ng mga projects sa mga contractors. Baka maaari raw mapag-usapan sa Senate Blue Ribbon Committee. And even si Senator J.V. Ejercito, nais niya rin daw sana na mapatawag naman yung ilang DPWH, either mga official o kaya naman ay mga district engineer na lumulutang o nababalitang merong luxurious lifestyle pero parang meron lang naman silang salary grade o salary lang na hindi naman ganun daw talaga kalakihan. So nais nilang sana sa mga susunod pagkakataon o pagdinig or investigation, makapagpaliwanag din ang mga opisyal na ito kung paano raw nila na-afford yung luxurious lifestyle kung ikukumpara naman daw sa salary na meron sila.
Okay, mukhang napakainit ng mga diskusyon kanina sa Senado, Mary Mon. Bukod pa sa issue ng flood control, meron ding issue si Risa Ontiveros. Ito yung nahuling isang Chinese businessman. Allegedly, ang tawag niya dito, Alice Guo 2.0. Anong nagyari today?
Sean, yung pinakanilalaman ng privilege speech ni Senadora Risa Hontiveros ay patungkol sa nakakaalarma daw na estado ng bansa pagdating sa national security. Kasi tinalakay niya yung kaso nitong negosyanteng si Joseph C. mula sa isang malaking mining company dito sa bansa. And nagsinungaling daw ito patungkol sa kanyang citizenship. Kasi noong base sa mga dokumento sa kanilang pag-iimbestiga, si Joseph C. ay kinikilala rin bilang isang Chinese national na si Chen Zhongzhen o Xi Zhenzhong mula China. Ngayon nakakulong ito, nakadetain ito doon sa detaining facilities ng Bureau of Immigration matapos siyang mahuli sa isang airport nga. Plus natagpuan din ng Bureau of Immigration na yung fingerprints niya doon sa pinresenta niyang Philippine passport ay pareho naman sa fingerprints ni Chen Zhongzhen na nag-apply naman ng visa sa ilalim ng RA number 7919 o ito yung Alien Social Integration Act. Ito yung nagbibigay ng amnesty sa mga dayuhan na makapasok sa bansa bago ang taong 1992. So nabigyan daw ng alien certificate or registration identity card si C na nag-identify sa kanya bilang isang citizen ng bansang China. Bagaman sinasabi ng panig ni C na Pilipino raw siya dahil meron siyang Filipino passport plus yung late registration daw nito ng kanyang birth certificate, hindi raw ba parang ito rin yung ginawa ni dating Bamban Tarlac Mayor Alice Guo. Kaya parang hindi na raw dapat pagawing biro-biro yung kaso na to. Lalo pa yung mga mining companies naman na may kinalaman dito kay Joseph C. ay parang direktang nag-i-export papunta sa bansang China. Plus yung ilang mga company pang involved dito sa mining sa loob naman ng Pilipinas, may kanya-kanyang issue. May mga kaso ito patungkol sa pollution, yung nagiging negative impact nito sa environment. Plus, flag down na rin ito ng DNR pero nagpapatuloy sa kanilang mining activities. Pakinggan natin yung bahagi ng privilege speech ni Senadora Hontiveros.
His is a deliberate attempt to misrepresent his nationality, to pass off as Filipino while retaining allegiance to a foreign state. Nagpanggap na Pilipino at ang isinusulong, interes ng dayuhan. Mismo ang Bureau of Immigration ang nagsabi na yung mga fingerprints sa di-umano'y Philippine passport ni Joseph C. ay tugma kapareho ng fingerprints ng isang Chinese national na nagngangalang Chen Zhongzhen, who applied for a visa under Republic Act number 7919. They are one and the same person.
Dagdag pa natin na ni-raise din ni Senadora Risa Hontiveros yung noong taong 2018 itong si Joseph C. ay nakapasok naman sa Philippine Coast Guard Auxiliary Unit or team na though voluntary daw ito yung basis nito pero hindi naman daw ito open for all. So nais daw maituwid sana ng Senadora o malaman sino ba yung nagbigay sa kanya ng Philippine passport, sino yung may kinalaman doon sa pag-i-issue or pagtulong doon sa late registration ng kanyang birth certificate at sino rin daw yung may kinalaman naman doon sa kanya pagpasok sa Philippine Coast Guard. Kasi kung makikita nga raw natin, yung estado ngayon, yung presence ni C dito sa Pilipinas, parang ibig sabihin nakapag-engage daw siya sa mga taong may kinalaman sa national security and even sa forces natin na may kinalaman dito. So, ito yung nais niyang mabigyan ng kasagutan sa mga susunod daw na investigasyon habang nagpapatuloy pa nilang inaalam kung sino nga ba talaga itong si Joseph C. Balik sa inyo.
Mary Mon, wala bang tinutukoy si Senator Hontiveros tungkol sa kung sino ang naging responsable? Anong ahensya?
So far says wala pa. Wala pa talaga. Yun yung gusto nga nilang malaman. Kasi kung titingnan din natin, eto ngang si Joseph C., parang ang sinasabi daw sa ilang articles sa China is, lumaki dito sa bansang China, around 17 years old daw pumunta dito sa Pilipinas. Tapos pumasok daw muna siya sa pagtatrabaho nagsimula siya sa timber, tapos pumasok na siya doon sa trade, and then nauwi na ngayon dito sa mining industry. Pero so far kung may backer man siya, whether a politician or someone daw na may kapangyarihan para magawa ito, yun yung nais nilang matuklasan, Ses.
Okay, follow up lang. Magpapatawag ba ulit ng, kunyari, parang season 2 nung Alice Guo hearing si Senator Risa Hontiveros about Joseph C. this time?
Sean, yan yung aabangan natin bukas kasi magkakaroon din tayo ng panayam kasama mismo si Senadora Risa. So far kasi nitong mga lumipas na araw at linggo, lahat ng nilalabas ng Senadora ay puro panayam muna nila ng concern na dito sa sitwasyon nga ng national security in relation sa kaso ni Joseph C. Pero hindi malabo na dahil nais nila na magkaroon pa ng mas malalim na investigasyon, magpapatawag din sila ng hearing dito sa Senado.
Panghuli, gabi na, pero may nagaganap pa ba dyan sa Senado o ikaw na lang nalalabi dyan, Mary Mon?
Nako, Ses, nagsiuwian na lahat ng mga kasama natin dito sa Senado. Kasi maaga rin na natapos ang session dahil nga supposedly magkakaroon pa ng interpellation kasama si Senator Ping Lacson, neto ni na Senator Bam Aquino. Pero pinaalam na ni Senator Ping na masama pa rin naman daw yung kanyang pakiramdam talaga. Itinuloy niya lang itong unang bahagi ng interpellation pero kung maaari raw sana, iusog na lang sa susunod na Senate session yung continuation ng interpellation. So far, ako na lang nandito, pati yung mga security officers ng Senado at abangan natin kung makakauwi rin tayo ng mabilis pa sa alas 4.
Kompleto pa naman yung mga kasama mo dyan sa Legacy Wall. Yan ang tawag nila.
Kasama ko pa sila.
Isang panghuli, Mary Mon. Tila may sagot si Senator Lacson dun sa binulgar ni Senator Hontiveros, ni Senator Risa, na siya rin ay very concerned na alarma sa sinasabing sleeper agents na narito sa Pilipinas.
Ses, kanina naman doon sa sa hearing naman ng Committee on National Defense and Security, Peace, Unification and Reconciliation, yung ilan sa mga binunyag naman ni Senator Ping, lagi siyang mayroong parang pasabog na intel na bagaman na mayroon ng mga naaresto ang NBI na foreign nationals, that's around 18 or less than 20, karamihan dito Chinese, yung ilan daw dito mga Pilipino, plus isang Canadian. Yung mga Pilipino daw nagsuserve daw ito na nagiging guide daw dito sa mga to para raw sa ilang mga espionage agenda or activities. Kahit daw arestuhin ang mga ito, malaki pa rin daw ang tsansa na papalitan ang mga ito. So hindi pa rin daw taliwas sa kaisipan na merong sleeper agent, even PLA members na nakapaloob daw, na nakapasok na dito mismo sa Pilipinas. Kaya nais nila na magkaroon daw ng continuing follow-through operations, lalong-lalo na nag-e-evolve din ang espionage, dahil nga ngayong araw, yung nais gawin ng committee is i-update yung anti-espionage law kasi 82 years old na to. Ang gusto nilang madagdag dito or mabago is i-expand na yung sakop ng espionage dahil meron na rin silang tinitingnan cyber threats, cybercrimes, and ang concern din nila dito ay yung presensya ng ilang mga gadgets. For example, yung mga drones, underwater drones, CCTV cameras na ang sabi pa nga ilan daw sa mga ito ay donated daw from Chinese companies na baka raw dito nagkakaroon ng problema ng compromise sa national security. So sa susunod na pagdinig, iniimbitahan ng komite naman yung mga head ng ilang government agencies, kasama na dyan ng CIDG, para raw malaman kung paano nga ba masusupo itong espionage sa bansa.
Bilib ako sa'yo, Mary mo, nasuyod mo lahat. Pero teka, dinaanan mo ba yung committee ni Senator Kiko on Agriculture?
Yes.
Okay. Kasi nandun si Secretary Kiko, Laurel, Chu Laurel. So, meron ka bang maidadagdag? Pasensya na, total, nandyan ka na rin lang at nalalabi dyan sa Senado. Ano ba ang mahalagang nangyari doon?
Ses, actually, ang pinaka nakikita nilang problema dito is hindi lang yung mataas na presyo daw ng mga bilihin, lalo-lalo na pagdating sa pagkain, kundi yung presensya rin daw ng mga hoarder, yung mga nagtatabi, and possibly rin daw meron daw nagiging oversight sa proseso daw nitong mga to. Kasi ang tinitingnan din nila kung maaaring mapalakas muli yung authority ng DFA, ng NFA, para raw masiguro yung pagdating doon sa import or export daw ng bigas, even yung presyo daw nito, mas matututukan daw nila. Kasi plus ang gusto rin daw magawa ng komite sa mga susunod na pagdinig is makapag-establish din kung may kakailanganin pang panukalang batas para masiguro na kung magkakaroon man ng problema dito sa agrikultura, mananatili pa rin masusuportahan either through subsidies or other programs ang mga magsasaka. Kasi nakikita nila na compromise daw ang mga ito na minsan mas mababa pa sa suppose na magiging kita nila o puhunan nitong mga magsasaka, yung nakukuha lang nila dahil nga sa problema ng rice exportation.
Okay, maraming salamat. That was Mary Mon Reyes, the only person left in the Senate aside from the guards, reporting to us live.
Meanwhile, we are going to take a very quick break, but still to come. Former PNP Chief General Nicolas Torre III is speaking up after he was abruptly sacked. His feelings towards the Marcos administration when the big story returns. Keep it here.
The big story is back with Police General Nicolas Torre III speaking up. That's a day after he was replaced as PNP chief. Torre was seen at the House of Representatives this Wednesday. He visited mamamayang Liberal Party list Congresswoman Laila De Lima, who's celebrating her birthday today. Torre said De Lima was one of the first people who paid him a visit when he became PNP chief. Torre declined to confirm if he spoke to President Marcos before he was sacked, invoking his executive privilege.
I've been an officer for more than 30 years. This is not the first time that this happened in my career. And I just came back, bounced back, and do something again.
General, do you have any regrets?
No, regrets? Lahat naman tayo may mga what ifs sa buhay, pero I am not very sure if this is one of them.
Do you think it was unfair, sir? Kung ano po yung nangyari?
Wala nga akong sama ng loob, and I'm a good soldier. Kung may order, I just follow it.
Torres says he still supports the president, even DILG Secretary John Vic Remulla and his colleagues in the PNP. He also clarified rumors he got the ire of officials because of an unanswered call.
Tumawag daw siya 5 beses, di niyo raw sinagot.
Sabi niya naman, di ba? Siya rin naman nagsabi na nasa dinner ako. Well, sa kuha na yun, alam mo, di ba? Even in the PSA, in the Police Service Anniversary sa aking demonstration sa President nung ating capability sa 911 and 5 minutes response. Ano ba ang na-highlight doon? Napakabagal talaga ng internet. So, things happen sa mga ganong kanya. It's just so unfortunate na napaka bad timing nung mga calls niya. Kaya hindi ako naka-return call, hindi ko rin na-receive.
Torre also explained his absence at yesterday's oath-taking of PNP OIC Lieutenant General Jose Melencio Nartates Jr. He does not consider that a turnover, Torres says he is yet to be offered by the Marcos government of a new post. The general did say he already left the pabahay ng PNP or the White House last night.
Yes. I have to still get guidance whether I'm fired from the PNP so that I will lose my 4-star general.
Yes.
And that's quite a different thing. No.
Kasi out of the service
So,
na yan, ibig sabihin, sir, di ba?
I'm still a policeman with a 4-star general rank.
Earlier this morning, Palace Press Officer Undersecretary Claire Castro confirmed that Torre will be offered a new post. She also insisted that the change of leadership in the PNP was not messy at all.
Huwag naman natin masabi nagkaroon ng messy transition because nagkausap naman po sila at alam po natin na naiintindihan ni General Torre kung ano yung naganap at nirerespeto rin po niya kung ano po yung naging desisyon ng Pangulo.
Meanwhile, for the new PNP officer in charge, his first day at work was filled with meetings and interviews. General Nartates also said he will implement soon a resolution of the NAPOLCOM on the recent shuffling of officials in the PNP. He also announced that he shall be replacing Brigadier General Jean Fajardo as PNP spokesperson. Nartates is eyeing for the post Brigadier General Randolph Tuanyo, currently the Chief of Public Information Office of PNP.
For sure, i-implement natin yan. But, alam nyo, ang NAPOLCOM, siya ang watchdog sa PNP. Siya ang repository ng ating mga policies and circulars. Pagka hindi natin sinunod, para saan pa yung batas, no?
Malacanang also downplayed talk that the firing of General Nicolas Torre has led to quite a bit of a mess. Yusek Claire Castro revealed that Torre had spoken with President Marcos prior to the announcement and that Torre understood and respected the president's decision. Castro also dismissed claims by the Makabayan bloc that Torre's removal reflected widening cracks in the Marcos administration.
Hindi po yan nangyayari at hindi po yan ang nakikita natin dahil sabi nga po natin si General Torre ay napakagaling na public servant at maaari po pa rin siyang magsilbi sa bayan. So hindi po natin nakikita na kung ano yung nakikita na Makabayan bloc.
But Davao Acting Mayor Baste Duterte insists what happened to General Torre is the result of bickerings with DILG Secretary John Vic Remulla.
Demoted siya, so tingin ko may internal na conflict talaga na nangyari dyan. Hindi sila nagkakasundo kasi nagsimula na yun kay Remulla, di ba? Nagkakasagutan sila. Wala nang mas mataas pa dyan sa pagkapulis mo.
From cracks to rifts to just downright messy. These are but some of what observers say about the president's surprise sacking of PNP Chief Nicolas Torre. Let's get more insights now, and joining us are our Suki geopolitical analyst Richard Haydarian and political pundit Ronald Llamas. Good evening to you, gentlemen.
Good evening po.
Good evening, Ses, Sean, Richard. Although, maganda yung intro ni Richard, geopolitical analyst.
Ano bang gusto mo?
Pwede ba tanggal na lang yung analyst, intellectual na lang? Kasi sabi ng isang senador, hindi na ako analyst. So, intellectual, para more pretentious.
Okay, our jesters maybe. No. Seriously now, seriously. So, is this going to be bad for the administration? This...
I think so. Although hindi naman ako pupunta sa isang conclusion na ito ay widening rift within o infighting sa loob. No? Pero yung handling ng issue, tingin ko leaves much to be desired. Dahil wag natin kalimutan, yung gumawa rin kay General Torre as one of the most popular government icon is the government itself. Inutusan siya para hulihin si Kibuloy, hulihin si Digong, at nung hinamon siya ni Baste, ay lahat ito ay nakakreate kay General Torre as one of the more popular icons sa gobyerno. Tapos almost overnight ay nakita mo na siya ay tinanggal na very curt yung letter for his dismissal.
Very terse. Yeah.
One sentence.
So, ang tanong ng mga tao, what's happening? No? Tapos, sinubukang i-backpedal ng gobyerno by saying na hindi, may i-offer sa kanya na higher position. Yun din ang sinabi nag-indicate din si Secretary Remulla hapon at today si Yusek Castro. At mukhang tinuldukan na yan ni General Torre nung sinabi niya na hindi, magbabakasyon ako. Magbabakasyon na lang muna ako. Which means practically ay hindi niya tinanggap yung offer sa kanya. Kaya we are not privy dun sa mga mas deeper reasons para sa kanyang pagtanggal. Pero yung optics ay hindi ganun kaganda. Dahil nga kung mamamonitor natin yung social media, ang laki ng ang laki ng backlash doon. Kahit sinusubukan nilang i-backpedal. No? Tingin ko, hindi naman...
Ronald, do you think...
Teka, pasalitain natin si Richard. Do you agree?
Naku, sobrang fan ni General Torre. Nakita ko yung mga posts mo, Richard. Lahat ng mga pictures ninyo nung SONA, yung mga ganun-ganun nyo.
Again, as a very objective intellectual, over the past 24 hours, kausap natin ng mga nasa inner sanctum ng government. Minessage ko rin si General Torre. I try to get really what's going on here dahil masyado daw na forthwith itong whatever you want to call it, na-relief. Ang bilis eh. Ang dami na stress, ang dami na shock. It's very clear that General Torre himself is still coping with the situation. Kaya sabi na mag-leave na naman ulit siya. But as my understanding is, of course, it's a combination of many factors. There are many different reads on this. Some of them were shared to me confidentially. But the other things I think are pretty much well known. I think there were some tensions about reassignment of certain officials. May mga hindi natuwa dyan, may mga binangga dyan. We know that General Torre has not been on best terms with other important officials. Kaya sa pagkaalam ko, he's being offered a position, I think something like a czar, anti-corruption czar, flood control oversight czar. But I think if you're General Torre, you want to make sure that you, next time, if ever you're giving a position, you're more secure with it and you directly report to the president. So that you don't have to deal with quote-unquote other people. Because clearly neither General Torre nor Secretary of the ILG and others want to talk about the details of this because siguro takot sila, the more they talk about the details, the more ma-weaponize ito ng Duterte camp who are clearly having fun. In fact, PDP Laban was even trolling me kanina about my comment on General Torre. So clearly, the optics are not good. Clearly, the PR has not been handled well. But if General Torre eventually comes around and takes up a good position and directly deals with the president and is insulated from whatever politics he had to deal with PNP, he can still turn this around kasi his political capital is immense. And we saw the super positive reaction kanina nung duman siya kay Congressman Leila de Lima. So he has a lot of supporters across the political spectrum. And at the very least, he's seen as a national level statesman come 2028.
Okay, so do you guys think kung nauna sana yung offer bago siya dinemote or finire, would that have changed things much? Kasi parang naging afterthought na lang yung offer eh. Even Secretary John Vic said it na lang upon the question of a reporter dun sa Q&A.
Well, dapat kasi yung ganyan na ganyang ka-popular na tao ng gobyerno, at the very least, dapat kinausap mo muna, binigyan mo ng graceful exit. At the very least, pwedeng bahagi ng graceful exit ay yung offer mo na posisyon na dapat hindi naman posisyon lamang na consuelo de bobo. Ibig sabihin, isang posisyon na deserving naman at ma-assure yung kanyang future. So, hindi ko alam kung ano talaga yung ino-offer. No? Yung NBI, bakante, pero ang kailangan doon, abogado or auditor. No? Yung sa DPWH, baka hindi naman yun yung skill set ni General Torre, pero ang nila may gagawin na bagong posisyon in relation sa investigation ng flood control. Problema kasi sa isang bagong posisyon, the devil is in the details. Ano bang power niyan? No, ng bagong posisyon na yan. Baka mamaya you're left holding an empty bag. So yun naman ang delikado sa isang bagong posisyon. Kaya tapos, syempre, dahil may samaan na ng loob, dahil alam naman natin, dito nangyari overnight, merong mga dynamics with NAPOLCOM, with the Secretary ng DILG, and perhaps iba pa ng mga powerful people sa gobyerno. So, hindi ganun kadaling masahihin yan after the fact. Dapat minasahi yan before siya tinanggal. No?
I'd like to ask both of you, because this is
Right.
not the usual way President Marcos handles things. He's very cautious. In his cabinet revamp, it was, hardly anybody was booted out. And then now you have this very sudden dismissal.
Right.
What's behind it? It's very strange.
I'll follow up before you boys answer.
Sure.
Do you think this is him trying to say, look, I'm now decisive, I am now fast, and, ayoko na, so...
Kaso wala naman daw unlawful na ginawa. Wala namang...
Right, exactly. I think this will retroactively be fixed once General Torre accepts something. Kasi if the more they give details, the more it ties their hands. Diba? Kasi hindi mo naman pwede i-promote ang isang tao sa higher position or cabinet position if mayroon siyang ginawang mali, diba? If wala naman siyang ginawang mali, bakit mo siya tinanggal ng ganito, diba? So it's really an impossible catch-22 situation for the president. There's different readings. One reading is actually the president's hands were forced, allegedly because the former PNP chief nag-overreach siya. The other version is that PNP chief was trying to make sure the ranks are in a certain order. If ever some big things come, who knows, maybe another ICC warrant of arrest, right? So there are different versions of this. So I think the president will try to square the circle or split the difference by giving probably something more than a consuelo to General Torre. So I think it's very smart for General Torre to play coy now, make sure that nothing is said against him, to give him leverage. And then, exactly as Ronald said, if ever he's going to be offered anything, hindi lang dapat tugma dun sa expertise niya. Dapat klaro yung mandato niya. Meron talaga siyang power and meron siyang kumbaga runway all the way to 2028, because I think it's pretty clear that General Torre has something in sight come 2028, and I can't blame him for that. But more importantly, General Torre has made many enemies. Marami siya siguro binangga sa loob, pero lalong-lalo marami siyang binangga sa labas, di ba? Yung mga Duterte camp, galit na galit sila sa kanya. He has been the face of crackdown on the Dutertes, from the Quiboloy situation to the Duterte. To be honest, ako, friendly advice, if ever kaibigan ko siya, sasabihin ko, you cannot come down from the tiger, diba? So General Torre also has to be very careful about his next moves. He's still a 4-star general. He's still part of the PNP. So if ever he retires and moves on, he has to make sure he's also insulated kasi ang dami rin niyang kalaban. So it's quite a tricky situation, but I think if General Torre plays his cards well, and he has the media and a lot of people on his side, in a sense that they're quite sympathetic, at least to his version of things, then I think he can work it out with the president eventually.
What do you think he's going to run for in 2028, Richard? So before Ronald answers, because you keep mentioning 2028, his sights are in 2020. Well, I'm asking Richard, is there something
well, I mean, he's not the first PNP chief to have his sight, at least on the Senate, right? There's already one PNP chief there, Senator Lacson. There's another PNP chief, former General PNP Bato. I think if you look at just the charisma and the momentum of this person, I think it's quite reasonable for him to expect something, at least a Senate run. But I'll leave it to our resident political expert, Ronald Llamas, to talk about it, because he seems not very happy with me grabbing the
And Ronald, if you may add, curious that the first official he visits is Congresswoman De Lima.
Yes, maganda yun, no? Ibig sabihin, even now, natagal siya, ay meron siyang PR strategy. No? Posible, in-advisean siya ni Richard na hindi ako happy na kasabay ko rito.
Just to be clear, hindi yan totoo.
Hindi, again, inuulit ko, hindi kami privy dun sa mga dahilan. Yun talagang mas malalim na dahilan dito sa pagtanggal sa kanya. Pero tingin ko yung dahilan ay compelling enough para hindi lang yung NAPOLCOM o hindi lang yung DILG Secretary ang involved. Mismo yung Executive Secretary at mismo yung Presidente apparently are involved, no, dito sa pagtanggal sa kanya. Medyo nabanggit nga yan ni Secretary Remulla kahapon. No? Usually kasi pinoprotektahan mo yung principal, yung Presidente. Dito binanggit niya na may kinalaman dito ang Presidente. Natingin ko, totoo naman. na may kinalaman. Ibig sabihin, baka merong dahilan na hindi namin alam ni Richard na mas malalim. Kaya nga ang focus namin is the optics. Yung optics. Kaya doon kami nagpo-focus. Dahil yun ay nakikita natin. Katulad ng ito yung nangyaring dynamics, sabi nga ni Richard, itong mga appointment, reappointment, pero yan, sabi nga ni General Torre, these are administrative issues na pwedeng ayusin non-antagonistically. Yun nga yung sinabi niya the other day, na may mga away, may mga dynamics, pero all of these are administrative at united pa rin ang PNP. Mukhang mali siya na hindi lang ito administrative. This is a bigger issue. No? Pero pag nakita mo, nabanggit nyo nga, ay nasa PR mode si General Torre.
Correct.
Ganda nung kanyang pagdala ng cake kay Laila de Lima. Another icon. Another popular icon. Ibig sabihin ay hindi lang siya tatahimik sa isang sulok. Kahit sinabi niya na siya ay magbabakasyon muna.
So politics, you agree with Richard na politics and could be in the horizon?
I'm almost sure. Tatakbo siya for at the very least, Senator. Tingin ko, just a hint. Perhaps yung dahilan, yung mas malalim na dahilan, kung bakit siya tinanggal, o at least bahagi ng dahilan sa kanyang pagtanggal, ay baka meron siyang mga ambitions na hindi na tinitimbre sa kanyang higher-ups. Ni Machiavelli, never outshine your masters.
Oo nga eh.
You've been saying that.
Masyado kang magaling, medyo wag mo masyadong ipahalata. No? O wag mo masyadong...
Pero Ronald, masisisi mo ba siya? I mean, he has taken more risks than practically everyone in the cabinet of Marcos. I think he's the only one you can say has probably more than 50% approval rating. I mean, he's the most popular guy and meteoric yung kanyang rise. And look at it, right and left. He was the champion of SONA, President Marcos. So ako, feeling ko baka there's also human error or some would say human hubris, diba? Na baka naman, things move too fast.
Looking back.
That affected his judgment maybe.
Looking back at that SONA, sarcastic ba si Presidente? Parang hindi naman, diba?
No, the President really, I mean, he was the star of the show. I was at Batasan there. Everyone wanted to take picture with him, except me. He came to me and he praised my shadow kicking, which Ronald Llamas does not appreciate, but General Torre does apparently. 4-star General Ronald.
No, there are whispers in Camp Crame of some deal that maybe General Torre was opposing. Are you hearing any of this?
The rifle, 8,000 rifle thing for the internal security. It's possible. There's possible a combination of factors.
If ever it was totoo nga yun, I doubt kung yun yung dahilan. Although wala namang walang basis pa. Ang naririnig ko is something else.
Okay, so ganito na lang. Let's make it simple.
Ano yung something else?
Hindi. Is a dahilan,
Si Ronald,
di ba sapat yung dahilan, di ba sapat yung dahilan ng overreach? Tulad ng sinasabi ni Senator Lacson, no, na parang binigyan na siya ng memo ng NAPOLCOM at sinuway niya sa flag ceremony. Sinabi niya, hindi, internal lang yan, maayos yan, pero ganito pa rin tayo. Diba? Tapos inintroduce niya si General Bernie Banac. Di ba sapat yon for this to happen? Or may ibang, ano bang nalalaman niyo?
We don't get into trouble. For me, I think it's really a combination of everything because General Torre came in really with a singular vision. I mean, when was the last time you saw a PNP chief go to the Commission on Human Rights and sasabihin niya, boss namin ang Commission on Human Rights on human rights issue? When did you have a PNP chief, hinamon niya makipagsuntukan sa isang mayor? Diba? I mean, I think what happened there is that he was so singular and some would say expansive, if not over-ambitious, in terms of projecting himself, that it was inevitable that marami siyang babanggain sa loob. Again, I think he had the right vision for the PNP without a question, but this is the internal politics aspect of this. And I think that's why eventually this got probably out of control. But as I said, hindi pa tapos ang laban eh. There's still a potential off-ramp here if he negotiates a good cabinet position or a good sub-cabinet position with enough institutional autonomy. But I'll leave it to Sir Ronald because he seems to have special knowledge.
I think he wants to say something.
Well, isang possibility nga. Sabi nga ni Richard, masyadong nag-skyrocket yung kanyang political fortunes. Kaya, siyempre, meron siyang mga detractors. Pero yung isang aspeto rin ay hindi lang mga detractors. marami yung nakita siya sa kanya ay yung kanyang potential. So marami rin na nag-gravitate sa kanya. Perhaps some of those na nag-gravitate sa kanya ay hindi ganoon ka-positive sa kanyang mga higher-ups.
Okay.
Perhaps yung mga ilang nag-gravitate sa kanya, yung detractors kasi usual yan eh. Pero yung nag-unite sa iyo for something much bigger in your political future, baka hindi ganun kaganda ang dating para sa kanyang mga mas matataas na mga tao.
So, sa kalaban ng mga partido sa politika, ganun.
But overall, guys, net positive ba to, itong nagyari, and how it was handled for the BBM administration, or is it a net negative?
Well, the optics, hindi ganun karami yung ganyan popular sa gobyerno. Kaya tingin ko, in some, negative ito. In some, negative ito, yung handling nito.
Do you agree, Richard?
Ako, I'm like the Zen master dun sa Charlie Wilson's War towards the end, di ba? You never know, right? This could still be turned around for better or for worse. I agree with Ronald on other platforms na ang weird kasi nangyari dito, lahat ng focus sa flood control, sa DPWH, sa mga kalokohan nangyari, bigla ang nawala, napakabilis ay nasa PNP. Yun pa nga yung
Oo nga eh. Kaya nga last question, kung gaanong kabilis, kung gaanong kabilis dinrap si General Torre, si Secretary Bonoan naman talagang, wow, is nakadikit pa din. So anong masasabi ninyo dito sa flood control mess? Anong next dapat?
Yung bukas, I'm calling for the resignation of Secretary Bonoan. That's the least he can do, no? Para lang maibalik dun sa mas fundamental na usapin sa ating lipunan, yung massive graft and corruption. Dahil ayun nga, sabi nga ni Richard, medyo na-divert ng kaunti itong mga pangyayari ito. Buti na lang nag-privilege speech si Senator Ping Lacson kanina para maibalik ulit, no?
Okay. So, thank you so much. Richard, sorry na lang, wala nang time.
Ayoko na magsalita, baka may makalusot, tapos ano tayo dyan.
We thank you for your insights, political pundits, Richard Haydarian and Ronald Llamas. Salamat.
All right, another news. The Bureau of Customs is under pressure to clean up internal irregularities and crack down on smuggling amid years and years of unresolved issues and high-profile cases. In an interview with our sister program StoryCon, Customs Commissioner Ariel Nepomuceno spoke about the challenge of undertaking lifestyle checks and dealing with powerful groups involved in smuggling.
The problems inside BOC itself are really tremendous. So to untangle them and then look inwardly into our own personnel with regard to lifestyle check will be challenging, but we will do our best to follow the directive. So we need resources to do our job. We need that kind of support. So that the hardest challenge is how to say no to corruption. We're up against groups or people who have more resources and power than us.
Nepomuceno also outlined solutions to strengthen customs system, including full automation of import processes and smart CCTVs in examination areas, which will monitor X-ray machines and prevent tampering.
Dapat maging in place yung mga solutions. Ano yun? Number one, yung full automation. Meaning the entire loop ng processes inside the Bureau, from the filing of the import entries, valuation, meaning you value how much should be paid for, yung babayaran, and then yung payment itself hanggang ma-release yan. Dapat yan fully automated.
Alam niya, hindi kasi alam niya, Commissioner, kwento sa akin ng dating Finance Secretary, pati daw X-ray machine dyan sa custom sinisira eh.
Nalalagyan ng asin, ma'am.
Oh my God. Pinasabutahe.
Yes.
Pati yung computer, pinipinturahan yung wire ng pinipinturahan yung wire ng sardinas para kainin ng daga yung wire ng computer.
Yes, ma'am. Kaya nga, along with the other things that we'll do, lalagyan namin ng mga smart CCTVs. Again, wala dapat mga dead spots. Babantayan mismo, ma'am, yan. Tama yan. Babantayan mismo yung aming mga examination areas na nandun yung mga X-ray machines.
The Customs Commissioner said the Bureau inherited around 9,000 pending cases from previous administrations, to which he said they will prioritize the most impactful ones while implementing systemic reforms.
We inherited 9,000, malalaglag kayo sa upuan dyan, 9,000 pending cases nationwide. Parang kailangan ko ng sariling Department of Justice to do the job, di ba? So what remains, magpa-prioritize na lang kami, of course, the high-profile cases, like yung mga sasakyan, Bugatti, yung mga pinaguhuli nitong nakaraan, and then agricultural smuggling cases. So, I'll be realistic. Hindi naman namin kahit tapusin yung entire 9,000. Ilang taon yung nabinbin dyan, ano? We'll prioritize alin yung pinaka-importante at may impact, and that would deliver the strongest message that smuggling will not be that easy during our time.
Meantime, President Marcos has named Visayas Deputy Ombudsman Dante Vergara, or Vargas rather, as acting ombudsman. This was confirmed by Palace Press Officer Claire Castro. Vargas was appointed Deputy Ombudsman by former President Duterte in May 2022, handling corruption cases in the Visayas. The post became vacant after Samuel Martirez's 7-year term ended July 27. Meanwhile, the Department of Health branded as fake news that Secretary Ted Herbosa has been suspended. The DOH released photos of Herbosa attending a briefing at the House of Representatives, countering claims of preventive suspension over issues surrounding the agency. Even Undersecretary Castro said that there is no suspension order from the Office of the President or the Office of the Executive Secretary.
And for our big picture tonight, American pop superstar Taylor Swift and NFL star Travis Kelce are engaged. The couple announced their engagement on social media Wednesday, August 27, Manila time. In a joint Instagram post, they wrote, "Your English teacher and your gym teacher are getting married." Photos show Kelce proposing in a flower-laden garden with Swift's song "So High School" playing in the background. Swift and Kelce, both 35, began dating in 2023 after the singer performed at the Arrowhead Stadium, home of Kelce's Kansas City Chiefs. But no date or details of the wedding just yet. Swift, a 14-time Grammy winner with 4 Album of the Year trophies, recently announced her upcoming album, The Life of a Showgirl, set for release on October 13.
Wow, this is the second time
we're talking about Taylor Swift.
And she's on the big picture.
Yes. In 1 month, no? Within the same, I think within
so.
30 days.
Swifties.
I know. So kilig, everybody.
So that's the big story this midweek. Thank you for watching.
We are One News, all sides, all the time.
We'll be back here tomorrow at 7:30. Have a good night, everyone.